Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, I am going to go over how to survive completely online college classes. I took 2 summer semesters fully online and my final semester at USC was completely online, so kind of have a little bit of experience with online. Granted, mine were on purpose. I wanted to have a fully online semester for my last semester so I could come home and like work and stuff like that, and I know that's not really the case for some people coming up this fall, that you may be taking online classes because you have no choice because of Corona. But I thought it would be helpful to give you guys some tips on how I survived completely online college classes. I ended up with a 4.0 every semester that I had completely online classes, and I actually found it much easier to have completely online classes. I know for some people that's not the case, but for me it was much easier because I had a lot more free time to do my assignments and, you know, go out with friends and do other stuff. I wasn't stuck to a strict schedule every single day that I had to be in class at this time from this time and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so my first tip is to get a planner. This is my planner from 2019-2020. I can't use it anymore because it's past the dates or whatever, but this was a lifesaver for me when I had online classes. Also, when I had in-person classes, but especially when I had online classes, I 10 out of 10 recommend this. It was literally like $7 on Amazon. I will link it down below for anyone that's interested. It'll be the 2019-2020 version, but they also have ones for the upcoming year. It was super cute. Had all these little cacti on it, I guess. But I really liked this one because, as you can see, it gives you the like full calendar month with like every single day, and the spaces are big enough that I could write all my stuff in it, but it also gives like a day by day, like where you can make like lists and stuff. So that was interesting. I liked that it had both. I liked the calendar part better because I could see like from week to week like what days were going to be the busiest, what weeks were going to be the busiest, and even what months were going to be the busiest. But my recommendation for this is get colored pencils or colored markers, colored pens, whatever you prefer. And what I did whenever the semester started, I went through each class, I saved each syllabus to my computer, and then I went through each syllabus one at a time. I picked a color for each class. I made sure all the colors were different, and I went through the syllabus, and on every assignment I had due for that class, I wrote in the designated color. Like on this day right here, I had a 3Q due, so it was 3 questions from the reading in one of my classes. I had that due, and then I also had an advocacy video prep due for my speech class. So I wrote, as you can see, this one is in black and this one is in blue. That's how I could tell that they were different classes. Obviously all of mine are crossed out because I've already done these semesters, but you can just see like every day that I have stuff due, like I wrote down what it was, and then based on the color I knew which class it was for. And then whenever I would complete that assignment, I would cross it out, or whenever I would turn that assignment in, I would cross it out. And it just helped me because I could see like, you know, I have this many days till this is due. I have all this stuff going on these other days, so I could plan when I needed to get that assignment done, and then I could see like each week what was due, and it made it so much easier for me to like have a visual of when it was due instead of, okay, I have this assignment due next Thursday. It was a lot easier for me to see that I have 4 assignments due next Thursday, not just 1. So that is my #1 tip, because it literally was a lifesaver. Anytime you have questions, you can just refer back to your calendar and see, oh, I have this due, like I can't go out, or I can't do this, I need to allot this much time to each thing, so that you can get them done on time and not have to stress about it. With that being said, tip #2, I would say, I know on Macs you can do like sticky notes on your desktop. I would highly recommend doing that as well for each week. It made it a lot easier for me to keep up with it, as like I had it in my calendar, but if for whatever reason I forgot my planner or whatever, I could go on my sticky note and I would have each assignment that I had due for the week, not for the month or not for the day, but for the week. I'd have the date, and then I would have the class and what assignment was due on that day, so that whenever I would finish it, I could go back and delete it off the to-do list, so that my to-do list would keep getting smaller and smaller. And so that was really helpful. Like if I went to the library or something and all I had was my computer, I could still see what I needed to do for that week. And then, you know, crossing the things off the to-do list make you feel very accomplished, or at least they do for me. So I would definitely recommend doing the planner and the sticky notes, because then you kind of are reinforcing, oh, I have this due on this day, I have this many assignments due this week, or whatever the case may be. You're not going to keep forgetting because you have it in multiple places. So also, like I said, if you forget one or the other, you still have something else to look at so that you don't get behind. Tip number 3, I would say make a folder on your computer for each class you have. So like this past semester I had social work for children, social work for adults, classical mythology, women and gender studies, and then some other, it was like a science class or something. But I made a folder on my computer and it was labeled with each like class code, so like social work like 303 or whatever it was. So I did that, and then I went and saved each syllabus to that folder so I could always access it very easily. I wouldn't have to go through Blackboard every single time to go and find it. It would just be right there saved in that class. And then whenever I would complete assignments, I would save it into that folder, and it would be much easier for me to find, especially whenever, like for all my criminal justice classes I've had in the past, I didn't ever delete my assignments on my computer. Like if I needed to reference one of them, I would know which folder to go to look for it. So it would make it much easier. I wouldn't have to search through all these different documents. I would just be like, okay, it's going to be in this folder somewhere. And I would be able to go back and find it, use it for a different assignment, or use information from it for a different assignment, or whatever the case may be. So that made it a lot easier to stay organized. Not necessarily made the classes easier, but it was easier to stay organized whenever you have it separated in each class. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but some people may not do that, and I definitely recommend, you know, making a folder for each class so that you know where each class's assignments are and you can get to them very easily. And then if you need to go back and reference an assignment for whatever reason, or if your teacher for whatever reason says they didn't get it, you can easily go back and find it and give it to them and be like, no, I did it, and it will have the timestamp and all that good stuff on it. So I found that really helpful as well. Tip number 4, I said this already, but I would save each syllabus for each class onto your computer. Like if you have a question about a policy, or when an assignment's due, or assignment instructions, or whatever the case may be, maybe you need your teacher's email address or their office hours or whatever it is, you can easily find it. You don't have to go back to Blackboard or whatever your school uses. You don't have to go back to that to find your syllabus, because usually those are posted at the very beginning of the year. They're going to be at the very bottom. They may kind of get clouded out by all the other assignments that you have due. So it's just easier if you just save it to your computer to begin with, because then you can go back and look at it whenever you need it, and it's right there, easy access. And say you don't have internet connection or whatever that is, you don't need it if you've already saved it to your computer, so you can easily get to it anywhere, anytime. Number 5, and I cannot stress this enough, is plan ahead. Do not wait until the last second to do your assignments. I know that that is what everyone says, but it is so true. Like I would try to like plan my stuff out at least a week in advance so I could make plans for other things that were not school related, because I get very stressed out very easily, and I know that if I have 5 assignments due on this day, that I should probably not make plans for that day. I should plan that for either the day after or multiple days ahead of that, so that I have plenty of time to get all of those assignments done, depending on how long they are, or how big the assignments are, how long they're going to take you to do them, and all that good stuff. You really need to plan ahead, especially when you have completely online stuff, because you are not going to class every day or every other day or whatever the case may be with a teacher reminding you, hey, you have this due next week. Like you have to remember on your own, which goes back to having the planner. If you have the planner, it's much easier to plan ahead. So for example, this past March, this was before all the craziness happened, or like right when all the corona stuff happened, so it was spring break. The first day of my spring break, technically, was this Sunday, and as you can see, I have like 4 assignments that were due. Well, I was supposed to go on a trip for that spring break, and I didn't want to have to take my computer. I didn't want to have to worry about schoolwork. So I had to plan ahead for the week before to get that stuff done, so that I wouldn't have to worry about it while I was on my trip. So for that day, I had a journal entry due, a quiz, an exam. It was like my midterm basically. I also had a peer response due, and I had to submit a topic for a paper that I was writing. So submitting the topic for the paper I was writing sounds like it would not be difficult, but for that assignment we had to pick our topic, we had to tell how it related to the class, how we were gonna like present it in the paper, basically. Like there was multiple steps. So although it sounded easy, it took some research and some thought into it. I needed to make sure I wasn't doing that on Saturday night, the night before I was leaving for the trip, like, because it just wasn't gonna work. I was not gonna be able to turn in a good topic with good points and arguments without doing the research multiple days in advance, so that I could come back and if I needed to change my mind or change what I wanted to do, I could do that. And then the exam, I needed to study for the exam, or at least kind of go over everything, because to be honest, the class I had the exam in, it was not that hard, but having to sit down and take the exam took a while because it was a midterm. So it was like 100 questions, and although they weren't that hard, it took a while. So I didn't want to start that Saturday night and then, you know, it was due on Sunday. So, and like once you started it, you couldn't go back and do more later or whatever. You had to finish it. So I needed to set aside, you know, an hour or however long it was going to take me to do that exam before I was going on the trip, because I didn't want to take it while I was on the trip, obviously. And then I will also say, like, if you know certain assignments are bigger, so say you have like a big paper due or something, don't wait till like 2 days before to start writing it. I know that I'm guilty of doing that, but it's really better if you like plan it ahead, or at least like make an outline or something before you start it. Like make an outline for your paper a couple days before you start it, or the day before you start it, and then that way you can go back and you kind of already know what you're gonna say. You just have to actually type it out on paper. It makes it much easier, and it made me much less stressed to plan ahead and not be like, oh crap, I have 5 assignments due tomorrow, I need to sit down and do all of them right now. It was much easier to kind of separate them, and since you don't actually have to go to class, it's much easier to manage your time, I feel like, because even if you work or whatever, you don't necessarily have like obligations that at this time every single Tuesday I'm gonna be gone and not able to do work. So definitely plan ahead. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, tip number 6, find a separate spot that you want to designate to be like your work area. So for me, whenever I was home this past semester, my work area was like in the living room, either on the couch or like at the bar in our kitchen, because I had plenty of room to spread everything out. And I would not recommend this space being in your bedroom unless you have like a desk or like an office area in your room. I do not recommend it being in your bedroom, because your brain is trained that your bedroom is where you sleep. So you're not going to do your best work in your room because that's where you sleep. So you're going to be tired, and even though you may not feel like it, like that's how your body is trained. Your body is trained to go to sleep when you're in your bedroom. I had to train my body that the bar in the kitchen was where I do my homework. Like that's where I have to sit down and focus and study and like put my best work forward. Whenever I was at school, I did it at our dining room table. I did not like to do, I would do some assignments in bed, like stuff that's not really that difficult I would do in my room, obviously just because my bed was comfortable. But if it's like a big assignment that takes a lot of effort and a lot of research and a lot of time, I would not recommend it being in your room, because you're just going to get tired and you're not going to focus, and it's not going to be your best work. It just isn't. With that being said, tip number 7, I would say after you found your separate space to do your work, I would say if you sit down one day and you're doing like multiple assignments for different classes in that day, and you're like, this is the day I'm going to set aside to do all my work, that's fine. I don't really recommend that, just because you're going to get burnt out super fast. It may free up the rest of your week, but after that day you're going to be so burnt out you're not going to want to do any more schoolwork. I would recommend, if you choose to do that, to take breaks, and take breaks often. I would say probably either between every assignment take a break, depending on how big they are, or if you're doing, you know, you're going to do all of this class's assignments and then you're going to move on to the next class, I would say take a break in between doing each class. Get up, walk around. Don't take your break and sit on your phone in the place that you're supposed to be studying, because like I said, you have to train your body that that's where you focus, that's where you're doing your homework. You're not just lounging around not doing anything. So if you want to be on your phone, that's fine, but I would recommend getting up and going somewhere else to do that, or getting up and getting a snack, or getting a drink of water, or going to the bathroom. Whatever that break is, just something to where you're not sitting in the same spot all day long for like 4 hours straight, because you're going to get tired, you're going to get burnt out, and you're not going to do good work. Also, don't make those breaks, like I would say to try to time your breaks. Don't make it like an hour break every time, because then you're going to be in the zone of doing work, and then if you take an hour break, you're not going to be in the zone. You're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then your plans to get work done are completely out the window. So take like 10-15 minutes to get your snack, get your water, do whatever you want to do, but I wouldn't say any longer than like 15-minute breaks in between each assignment or each class. If the assignments are small, honestly, just keep trucking, because if it's small and you're taking 15 minutes to do the assignment and then you're taking a 15-minute break, like it's not really evening out. Like you're taking way more breaks than you are working, I would say. Again, if the assignment is super long, then, you know, maybe you need a bigger break. You need to, you know, cool down, like whatever you need to do. But definitely take breaks, because if you don't, like I said, you're going to get burnt out. You're not going to want to do your work anymore, and then your plans are just out the window. Tip number 8, I would say if you can, work ahead. This goes back to planning ahead. Especially if you have teachers that open your assignments, and they open the assignments for the whole semester at the beginning of the semester, and they let you work ahead. Some teachers obviously don't let you do this. Like, I had a teacher, she wouldn't open our assignments until each Tuesday, and then it was due every Friday. So I couldn't really work ahead on those. But then I had other classes where every assignment for the whole semester was open, and we could finish it at our leisure, basically. That doesn't necessarily mean that your teacher's going to get your grade back to you very quickly if you work 3 weeks ahead, but at least when the 3 weeks from now comes, you won't have to worry about that assignment, and it will already be done. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for like papers and stuff. I would say, you know, start them early, but I wouldn't say finish them early. Like, I wouldn't do, if you have 4 papers to do all semester, I wouldn't write them all in the same week. I would definitely write the first one and get your grade back, get your criticism back from your teacher, and that way you can tweak your papers after that, so you'll get better grades, or whatever the case may be. You can get feedback from your teacher, what you did well, what you did wrong, stuff like that, so that your papers from then on out you can do better. But things like discussion boards, if they're just like answering like a couple questions, if you can work ahead on those, I would definitely recommend that. But you have to remember, if you have to respond to peers, you have to remember that if you're the only one working ahead, you're gonna have to go back each week and do your peer responses. So I would definitely make sure that when you're doing your planner, that you write the discussion board is due, but also write that you have peer responses due. So that whenever you complete your discussion board, you can cross out discussion board. But then whenever you go back that week, peer response is not crossed out, so you know you still have to do it. That way you don't forget to respond to your peers and then possibly lose points, because that did happen to me. Like the 3rd week of class, I forgot to go back and respond to my peers, so she took off like 10 points, which is not that big of a deal. But if it's something as easy as responding to someone else's post, there's no reason that you should be losing points for that, just because you forgot to do it. So I would definitely recommend writing those as 2 separate things. Also, for teachers that open assignments for the whole semester, I would definitely make sure that you ask them if it's okay if you work ahead, because some teachers honestly don't like that. If they say that you can't, obviously go ahead and do it, but some teachers don't like that. They just like to open them so that they don't have to go back every week and do it. Definitely make sure that that's not going to be a problem, and that you're not going to get points taken off just because you decided to work ahead. I feel like it's ridiculous to be punished for working ahead, but some teachers, like I said, don't like it, so I would definitely make sure first before you do that. Tip number 9, definitely do not be afraid to ask your teachers questions. Whenever I had in-person classes, I was not really one to go to office hours. Honestly, I didn't really like to take the extra time to go there, especially if it was out of my way or out of my schedule. If I wasn't already on campus, I wasn't really one to go to office hours. I would rather just email them, and when you have all online classes, that is much easier. Some teachers will give you their phone numbers, like their office numbers. If they don't respond to your emails, I would definitely call, leave messages, do whatever you have to do. If you have to be annoying, be annoying. You need your questions answered, so if you have to be annoying, then that's just how it is. Most teachers would much rather you ask them a million questions than you do an assignment completely wrong and get a terrible grade, because not only is that irritating for them that your assignment sucks, but it also makes them look bad if everyone else's assignment sucks too. Because obviously they're not doing something right, they didn't explain something well enough, or whatever the case may be, and then that reflects on them very poorly. So please, please, please ask questions. Even if you think it's a stupid question, ask it anyway. Even if you just need clarification on something, ask questions. If you have to explain exactly how you're thinking through something, then do that. Because it's much easier to ask questions and get a response than to go ahead and do the assignment how you think you should and it be completely wrong, and then it ruins your entire grade, because that would suck. And you could have just asked questions and avoided that whole problem. And with online classes, a lot of teachers, they may not have office hours, but you could do Zoom meetings or Skype or whatever they're comfortable doing. You could do that, because I know sometimes it's easier to explain face to face than it is to write an email and explain what you're thinking. So you can always offer that. Be like, hey, could we have a Zoom call or a Skype call or whatever, because I don't really know what I'm doing, or I have a couple questions about this and I just can't seem to find the right words in this email. It would just be easier if we could talk via Zoom or via Skype or whatever the case may be, since they don't have official office hours. Once my online classes, once everyone went to online classes this past semester, my teachers obviously couldn't have office hours. Even though we were already online, they still had office hours. So if we had questions, we could still come talk to them. But since they couldn't have office hours anymore, they made like Zoom office hours. We just had to schedule an appointment. Some teachers may offer that. If they do, definitely take advantage of it, especially if you're the type of person that is always going to office hours. If you're always going to office hours, then you can't. It's probably easier for you to do a Zoom or a Skype than it is to write an email. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Teachers love when you ask questions. They always say there's no stupid questions. I don't think that's completely true. But to teachers, they always say there's no stupid questions, so ask questions. Do not get things wrong just because you didn't want to ask a question, because that's stupid and you're ruining your grade for no reason. My 10th and final tip is to make sure that you sleep and make sure that you eat, because if you are not sleeping and eating properly, then you're just going to be tired all the time and you're not going to be able to do your work. You're not going to be able to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to spend this much time today on this assignment, because you're just going to be tired and you're going to want to take a nap. And you're going to want to do literally anything else besides your assignments. So make sure that you're sleeping. Make sure you're not staying up until 2, 3 in the morning to do assignments. That's why I said to plan ahead. Because if you don't plan ahead, that's what you're going to end up doing. And then your assignments are going to suck and your teachers are going to hate you for it. And your grades are going to suck because you're going to turn in crappy assignments. And I'm not saying that I've never stayed up late to do assignments, because I have. But again, they were not great assignments. And it was because I had poor time management skills. So make sure you're planning your assignments and when you should do them accordingly, because you do not want to have to stay up till 2 in the morning to do them, because then you're just going to be stressed out that you're not getting it done in time. You're going to be stressed out and it's not going to be a good assignment. So make sure you're sleeping. Also, like I said before, when you're taking breaks, make sure you're eating in between. Make sure you're not spending, 5 hours doing your assignment and you're not eating, because then you're going to be hungry, you're going to be grouchy, you're not going to want to do your assignment anymore, just like without sleep. And make sure you're fueling your body with good food. You're not eating, Little Debbie cakes every single break you take, because then you're just like filling yourself with crap. And I'm not saying, you have to eat a salad for every meal, but you should definitely make sure that you have a balance of good and bad, so that at least it will even out if you're eating junk food. So yeah, make sure that you're sleeping, because if you don't, you're going to be grouchy, and no one likes a grouchy person. So those are my 10 tips on how to survive online college. I know it's not for everyone. I personally liked it much better being everything online, because like I said before, I had much more free time. Yes, it did involve a little bit of planning and a little bit of like self-motivation, but at the end of the day, you'll feel much more accomplished knowing that you didn't have someone there to remind you every single week, hey, you have this assignment due, or every other day that, hey, you have this assignment due next class. Like, you're keeping up with it yourself. It makes you feel made me feel kind of accomplished, at least. Made me realize that, I can do this on my own. And then it gives you more time to work. You don't actually have to go to class. You can work, you can go out with friends, you can do all this stuff. But like I said, you do have to plan around your assignments. As much as that may seem like it sucks, once you get the hang of it, it's really not that bad. So to everyone that has to switch to online learning in the fall because of Corona and is not able to go back to school, I'm so sorry. I hate that your college experience has been taken from you. Like I said, I personally enjoyed online college, but at the same time, I chose that. So I know for some people that's not what you want to do at all, and I completely understand that side of the story too. But I wish you all the best. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And like I said, I will link my planner from Amazon down in the description so that you guys can go get one for yourselves if you like. I have multiple designs and all kinds of different styles, and like I said, that it was literally like $7 or $8. So definitely worth the buy. If you have any other tips for succeeding in online college, please leave them in the comments for everyone else to see, and I will see you guys next week.